All right, we're live. So, would anybody like to give the opening prayer?
I can give it.
Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this opportunity we have to meet together as a group and to discuss gratitude and the activity that we did and the readings that we've studied as well. We pray that we may be able to have Thy Spirit with us, and we will know how to apply this into our personal lives, that we may get the most out of it as possible. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, gratitude. So, this topic for me, like in my life, comes up often. Like, hey, you need to be better about this. So, anytime we have a study on it, I always think it's quite perfectly timed, at least for me. But I was thinking what we could do is just each take turns and talk about the experience of just who we picked, and then not necessarily what you wrote, but as you were writing, kind of your overall experience with the different letters or the different activities that you did with these people. So whoever wants to go first can do that.
I can start. I'll just get it over with. Okay, so maybe it's just like a guy thing, or maybe it's just my family thing. So I have 4 brothers, and like we didn't grow up like talking at all. We would all just like fight each other, and then it'd be over, and we'd like never talk about it again. So like good emotions, bad emotions, it didn't matter what it was. We just like, I don't think we ever really learned like a healthy way to express those. So for me, this activity was actually like super uncomfortable. Like I was like, I don't want to like tell anyone, and I'm sure everyone to some degree was uncomfortable. But yeah, so I ended up writing emails to people that I knew. One of them was to my brother who's on a mission, and then just 3 people that I knew here in Rexburg that I'm pretty good friends with, and then, or I guess 2 here in Rexburg, and then 1 down in Salt Lake that graduated last semester. And just kind of like in each individual one, the pattern I guess I saw was just once like you started expressing gratitude, you were able to see, like I started thinking like, oh yeah, this person has maybe done like 1 or 2 things for me. But then as I started, I was like, actually, like they've done a lot more for me than just these 1 or 2 things. And it kind of just snowballed into like, oh, you do these for me. Like you're this kind of example to me. Like I'm really grateful for your support and for your friendship. And so for me, it was just kind of a neat opportunity that like once we are forced to express, or once we learn how to express gratitude, it kind of opens your eyes to like everything else that you should be grateful for as well.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think your overall feeling was in this activity?
Yeah, I guess I went through a couple emotions. Like the first one, like I said, was just like kind of awkward at first, but then like once I had it written and I had it sent, I like even wrote them. I was like, never mention this to me again. Like if I see you, I don't ever want you to like talk to me about this. Kind of as a joke, but like yeah, so I kind of went through a couple different emotions, but yeah, it was awkward, and then like it just kind of felt good. Like I was like, yeah, whatever, if it's awkward, like it's still a good thing to do. Like it doesn't matter if maybe they like cringed for a second when they like read it, or they were uncomfortable, because the pros like outweigh the cons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's good. Sounds like a good experience. I did like the fact you pointed out like more things came to you as you wrote, because that was a similar experience that I had. I'm sure other people did as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would add to the experience?
No, it was good.
Very cool. All right, who's next?
I'll go. So the 3 that I had were actually, I didn't want to write emails because I wanted to find people that are nearby, which is tough as a student up in Rexburg. But so one was obviously my wife, and then the other 2 were actually 2 professors on campus that kind of took me under their wing for many different circumstances, and they really probably without a combination of all of them plus family from afar, I probably wouldn't be here this far in schooling. And I just wanted to do that for the teachers and obviously my wife. And she's I don't know if you guys ever taken the she is Words of Affirmation and I Am Service. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like if you take this survey thing and you figure out like, I think there's
Love
like 3 options. What was that?
It's the love languages.
Love languages, yeah. For you married people out there, definitely do that. Just see what that's all about. And choose words of affirmation. So anytime say stuff or give her a little note here and there, she likes that. So, and of course, any plate of cookies or anything is always a plus. But the teachers, yeah, they're male teachers, so I'm similar to Ethan. It's kind of like awkward to talk to them, but I just thanked them about for always being there to give me advice. Like I'd show up to their office, we just talk about whatever, and they probably spent just hours and hours of time just talking to me about whatever. So I just thanked them for all that. And actually, they one of them gave me a couch of theirs that we have, and then the other ones invited me over to dinner for a couple times in the past. And yeah, just like little tender mercies here and there that that those 2 men have given me, and they probably don't think much of it, but I did. So I felt like this assignment really pushed me to do that. I wanted to do that anyways, but yeah, it really helped in that aspect to get me out there to share that with them. That's pretty much it, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
My letters to, I wrote letters, my wife, but I've been needing to write letters the past little bit, thanks to some people, so this was kind of like perfectly timed. Steffi, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just curious, Logan, what their response was.
The guys just they just kind of punched me in the arm or something, and they're like, "Yeah, let's knock it off." And then I gave them cookies. One of them actually rides his bike to school, and I took over his house because he invited me over to his house a couple times, and I gave them to his kids, and his kids like the cookies and stuff. But yeah, both of them are pretty cool.
So did you actually write a note to them, or did you just go talk to them?
Go talk to them. I wrote some things down, and that I didn't give it to them. I just kind of read it to them, read out my notes. I think that was an option that we had to do. But
yeah, I was just curious how you handled it.
yeah, I just talked to them. And felt
That's cool.
like it was a little bit more meaningful. I don't know. I guess a card is meaningful too, but
yeah,
I don't know.
But I like the articles how they pointed out, like you write it down, but you call them and you read to them or you say it to them.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have read the articles before I wrote my letters, because it was like, oh, I probably should have done that with my wife, because she was one of the people I wrote it to, and I see her every day. But it's like too late. So, anyways, awesome, great experiences. All right, who's next? Who wants to share next?
I can go. That's fine.
Okay.
So I wrote thank you cards to they're all actually just really good friends, but just people that have really had an impact on me. Like they're all close here. They're all people that are here in my ward. But they're also like either spouses of Bishop Brick, or one of them's like the Relief Society president. And so I thanked them for like the service that they provide in the ward, because it's not just to me, it's, you know, I see things that they do for other people too, and just the example that they are to me. But I really, I couldn't do it. It said in the instructions to read it out loud to them, and I couldn't. I wrote it down. I put it in a card. I gave them a plate of cookies and gave them the card. And I told them thank you, and that they had had an impact on my life, and that I was grateful, for them. But I didn't actually like read everything that I wrote. I just let them read it on their own afterward. And all of them sent me a note afterwards thanking me for the note and for the cookies. And what I thought was interesting about it was how often, like, all of them reciprocated the gratitude, right? When I said thank you for something specific, like, they would turn around and say thank you to me for something that I had done for them or had an impact on them. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, that it kind of mushrooms, right? You say thank you to somebody, and it kind of sparks that gratitude in them as well. But it was a good thing for me to be able to reflect on some of the people that had, made an impact on me, done things for me. And it's something I actually do a lot. Like, sometimes I'll write thank you notes to the youth speakers in sacrament meeting, because I think the youth are always really nervous, and I'll send them a thank you note to let them know that their message was meaningful and that they did a good job, that kind of thing. So I try to write thank you notes on a regular basis, but this was a little bit different just because I was trying to really think of people who had really had an impact on me in some way that I hadn't acknowledged. So that was a good exercise.
Thanks for sharing. That was awesome. Yeah. It sounds like, so have you had a positive experience the majority of the time with thank you notes then? Have you seen any?
Always. Yeah, people are always amazed to get them.
Yeah.
I mean, even just when my kids get a gift or something and they write a thank you note, it's so rare now that people do that, that anytime I've written a thank you note, people come and thank me for the thank you note.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect example of why not only is it important, like, within your personal life, but also in the corporate world, within whatever organization you're in. Because that feeling should be very similar, if not the same. So thanks for that experience. That was awesome. All right, who's next? Who wants to share next?
I can go next.
All right, perfect. Let's hear it.
So I have a lot of people in my life that I'm grateful for. So I was thinking who I would narrow it down to, and I thought I would keep it in my family because they do so much, and I don't always, get around to it. And the more I was thinking about it, the more I would remember more things that I was grateful for. And I went out and I chose my brother and my mom and my dad. And I went out and I was going to get them their favorite treat. And I realized I didn't know their favorite treats. So I had to find that out. And I was like, out of all these years, like, why didn't I know their favorite candy? But I got that for them. And just their expression on their face, like surprise, they're really happy about it. And so just the feeling it brought me was even more, it just was really a great feeling.
So did you deliver it to them personally? Did you read it to them?
Yeah.
Both?
Yeah, all three of them.
Awesome. And so what was their reaction to it?
Well, they were taken surprise. Like, at first they just weren't expecting it, and then they were like, oh, okay, yeah. They're really cool for it. So kind of out of the blue, but
Sorry. So thanks for that experience. Eric, would you mind sharing your experience?
Not at all. So I kind of felt that this week was how to put this? It was all about me, if that makes sense. So Sunday in Ward Council, my bishop, he had the spiritual thought, and he read the chapters in Luke that are quoted in, I believe it was President Monson's talk about the lepers as they go away and only one return to be grateful. And anyway, so he had a big spiritual thought on Gratitude Sunday in church. Now, I hadn't looked at this lesson at all. So then when I opened it up and looked at the gratitude lesson, I thought, okay, someone's telling me something here. Apparently I'm not grateful enough for anything. So this lesson is all about me. So the rest of you can just take a back seat because I apparently need to be more grateful. But and the other interesting thing is my daughter, she's 12. She spoke for the very first time in church on Sunday. And she was really nervous, and I thought she was going to pass out while she was up there getting ready to talk. And anyway, she got up and did a fabulous job, and she's gotten 3 or 4 thank you notes in the mail today. So Stephanie, when you said that, I thought, wow, I've never even thought about that. But so gratitude's really been hammered, if you will, to me this week, and I need that, obviously. But I chose my wife, who, I couldn't do anything without her. So I handwrote a note, which is bad because that means she has evidence that I will write her a note. So I wrote her a note, and then made dinner so she didn't have to one night, which she very much enjoyed. And then I wrote a note to my parents, kind of counted them as one, even though it's 2 individual people. And my mom's a crier, so she started reading the note and started crying. And I'm like, okay, see ya, bye, Mom. I grew up like Ethan. I have 3 brothers. My mom was the only female in my life, so when people cry or get emotional, I don't do so well. My daughter, 12-year-old, she's getting emotional, and I'm like, oh, they're there, dear. It'll be okay. Kind of pat her on the back, and I don't know what to do. So I'm a wreck. But anyway, so gave to them, and then I have an identical twin brother, and he lives a couple hours away. So I sent him an email, and then called him later just to talk to him about the email as well, because he had a big role in me returning to school and helping me kind of overcome some of my fears and things like that. So those are the kind of the 3 people I chose. For my parents, I gave them a couple of candy bars. My mom loves Milky Way and my dad loves Snickers, so I got a couple of those. And my twin brother living in Twin Falls, I have a bag of jerky for him once we meet up. We're going deer hunting this weekend, so I'm going to see him Saturday, and I'll give that to him at that point. So he has the note, doesn't have the gift or the thank you gift yet, but yeah, I mean, it was a good experience for me. Everybody was flattered, and to see how gratitude, watching my daughter and seeing how gratitude of other people affect her, I realized I needed to be more grateful with the people around me, as they've done, a ton. I mean, my wife sacrifices a ton. I'm not a naturally smart person, so I have to read and reread and reread and things like that to get good grades in school. So she kind of takes the brunt of that with having to deal with the kids and run them to sports and that kind of thing. So I'm definitely trying to be more grateful, and it was a good experience for me.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Those are all great experiences. For me, I wrote a letter to my wife, and then my mom and my dad. I wrote a separate letter for my mom and a separate letter for my dad. I've honestly been feeling like I need to write my dad a letter for a while, so it kind of gave me a good excuse to do that. They haven't gotten their letters in the mail yet, so I don't know what their reaction will be, but I know it'll be pretty much surprise, because I don't talk to my family very much. Not that I love them and I have nothing against my family. I just am not one to pick up the phone and call people. And so it's going to be good for them to see it. But my wife, she loved it. I got her, the little treat that I got her was, I don't know if you know, the sugar cookies that have the orange frosting on top that you can get at any grocery store. Oh, right here. These ones. So those are the one, she loves those cookies. And so we went and got her that. And so she came home from work and she was super tired and saw a handwritten note and her favorite cookies. And she was ecstatic and made her day. She's definitely another one of those, kind of like Logan's wife, who words of encouragement, words of affirmation. those are huge for her. And so that definitely made her day. And then it made me feel good that I'm helping her out. And so it's something that I think I'm going to continue to do periodically, is surprise her with a note, because she kind of knew what was coming, because I was doing my homework and I was looking at the assignment a few days ago, and she saw that I had to write a thank you letter. So I was like, oh, the jig is up. So I wrote her one anyways. I was going to no matter what, but now I knew I had to for sure. So I'm going to kind of go a little bit out of order with some of these questions, because I'm curious to know, what are some things that are barriers for you for being grateful for things, if that makes sense?
Pride. Sometimes I'm too prideful to be grateful. You know, I can do this, and when somebody does it, well, I could have done that anyway. You know, I didn't need your help. And you know, when my kids, sometimes I'll ask my kids to do something, and then I'm too impatient to actually let them do it. You're doing it wrong. I'll do it. You know, and for me, I think it's pride.
Mm-hmm.
I think depending on the situation, sometimes it's just awkward.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we heard that from a couple people.
Yeah.
Especially things that are particularly meaningful. It's actually hard to talk about that sometimes.
Yeah.
Then you're getting kind of like, ooh, touchy-feely, like, you know, and people tend to kind of shy away from that a little bit. So.
Yeah. The question is why, now I'm curious to know, why do we feel that way? Why are we like hesitant to be sharing our thoughts and our feelings? Because really it's a good thing. I don't know why anyone would have issues with it, but
I don't know why. Like my entire family is we don't talk at all. And similar to Spencer, like we don't not care about each other. We just don't. I mean, I don't know. So I struggle with that, and
yeah.
I don't know why we don't. We never really thought about it. I see other people kind of talking to their, like, you know, people that call their mom all the time and talk to them. But if I call my mom, it's like she doesn't want to talk either. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, something to think about. So what other barriers are there for us expressing gratitude?
Maybe feeling vulnerable. You're letting them in and just expressing yourself. I don't know. Sometimes you think, oh, I'm thankful for this. I don't really know. Actually, just being vulnerable. I don't know. People want to be like, oh, I'm this person. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely part of it, because I think we do have that fear of when we are showing our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, it opens us up. And there is that possibility of us getting shut down or shot down.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's a huge part of it.
I think too, maybe just because like a lot of the times we kind of operate on like a superficial level of like, oh, we're just trying to go through the day and like do all these things we need to do. That we don't really, it's not common for us to sit down and have a heart-to-heart, a serious conversation with someone. And so it's like, not only is that awkward when it comes up, but it's like also awkward to like change the mood to a mood where like you can have that serious conversation. You know, you have to be like, okay, like let's pause for a second. Like we were just making jokes a second ago, but like now let's have a serious conversation. Like I found myself even in my emails writing people, like I start off with like a couple jokes, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to make the least amount of jokes as possible because I want this to be as serious as it can be. So maybe just because we always operate on like this very like professional or like superficial level where we're always focusing on things that are kind of just on the surface rather than what's like really in our mind or in our heart.
Mm-hmm. Thoughts? And I think because that comment kind of reminded me of the article when we read What Google Learned. the article referred to it as your work face. Like I guess in a corporate or a work setting, for instance, over time, I think corporate America is like, hey, we're tough. We get the job done. We're efficient. We don't care about anything else besides performing. And it's weak or wimpy if you share, your concerns. And I think that all is encompassed in the work face. So I think it's going exactly against what a lot of I think we're transitioning out of it now. But for a long time, that manly toughness, you just didn't share your feelings. You didn't share your thoughts because it was a sign of weakness. So have there been any ways that you all have been able to overcome this at times? Obviously, I'm not perfect at it, so there's times where I'm better at it than others. But has there been experiences that have helped you to be better about this, sharing, expressing gratitude, whether in letter form or not?
Well, I think for me, because I do try to actually write thank you notes
Sure.
on a regular basis. But I think seeing people's response to that, the positive response, and to see the change that it makes in my relationship with people. Because really, when people feel appreciated, it changes the way they interact with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see that kind of positive result, then you can kind of build on that.
Yeah.
But in a work setting, in an organizational setting, I have seen gratitude be very powerful. And so, I kind of laughed about the assignment just because it's just so different. But when you read the articles, none of it was a surprise to me, I guess, because I've seen it and experienced it in the workplace, and also seen when there's a lack of it, right? When people don't feel like you appreciate their effort or their work, it changes the way they perform. It changes the way they interact, and they lack motivation if they don't feel like their work matters. So I guess that's really is looking at the results of it motivates me to do it more.
Sweet, thank you for that. What other ways have you guys found that's helped you being successful in sharing or showing gratitude?
One thing that I've just learned from experience is you kind of just have to plow through that first hurdle of starting the conversation, because the longer you think about oh, how am I going to bring it up, or how are they going to react, you'll just talk yourself out of it. And so a lot of times I just am basically throw myself into the conversation, no grace, no etiquette, just throw myself in there and be like, hey, I need to thank you for this or whatever. And then usually 9 times out of 10, most of the time they reciprocate, and they kind of become more serious as well, and they don't make jokes or whatever. And they can kind of read the social cues of oh, this is a serious conversation, or this is a meaningful conversation. So yeah, just kind of smashing through that first hurdle, and not worrying about doing it with etiquette or anything, but or with grace, and just doing it.
Sweet. Yeah, that's true. There's an awkward hurdle. You feel it in a lot of situations, but this is definitely one of them. Once you get over it, it's kind of like even giving a talk or a public speech. The initial first 2 seconds is scary, but once you're in it, you're totally fine. So, anyone else?
I think it's easier to be grateful in different situations, right? So, if you're with a spouse or show gratitude, sure. I think it's easier for me to show gratitude to my spouse than it is to, someone else in the ward, because my wife loves me. Unfortunately, that's not the right way. We should be grateful with everybody. But, I worked with managed people for a lot of years, and, it's amazing how sometimes just you showing them respect and being grateful for the efforts they put in goes a long ways. You know, hey, you're not, you know, I can't give you a raise with this, but hey, you did an excellent job on that presentation. You know, thank you for the efforts you put in. Goes a long ways. You know, some people will really take that and kind of run with it and be like, okay, you know, people do appreciate me. So it's definitely a huge help in some aspects and on the professional level. It can't obviously take the place of monetary, but it can definitely keep people focused and in the right direction at least.
I have a manager at work that when he sends you an email that says like thank you or great job or whatever, you save those because they happen rarely. But when you get one, it's like, wow, that just like made my week. Like we keep them right there. You got to look at him occasionally to remember that once in a while he does appreciate you.
Yeah, this is kind of off topic to your question, Spencer, but just on topic of what you had said there, like with gratitude at work. So we hired two new students this semester, and like our job is like, I don't feel like you can really get trained at it. You just kind of get thrown into it, and you're like, okay, like help us plan this event. There's like a little bit of training, but just because of the nature of it, it's like a very much like learn as you go kind of job. Just because of the different protocol and things and like preferences that people have. And just the other day we had an issue with one of the things that had happened. And so my boss was like, oh, I'll need to talk to this new girl that we hired to make sure that gets sorted out and it doesn't happen again. And then I was just thinking like, it's so easy for people to show like a lack of gratitude of like, oh, you need to improve this or you need to improve that at work. And it's so hard for them to be like, oh, thanks for doing your job well, because a lot of people are like, why would I thank you for doing your job? Like, that's your job. And so I just I had the idea run through my head, and I haven't like thought it through very much, but just kind of this like idea of, to the degree that we're willing to like point out someone's flaws, we should to that same degree be willing to point out the good things in them. You know, we should be just as willing to say good things about someone as we are to say like, hey, you need to improve on this. Because I know for me, especially just looking in my own life, like that's a lot easier for me to be like, hey, roommate, like you need to do the dishes better. But like when they actually like clean the bathroom or something, I'm like, oh, finally, like he did something, instead of saying like, oh, wow, thanks for cleaning the bathroom, you know? So it's just so much easier to justify like telling someone where they need to improve. And it's so easy to justify not telling someone thank you when they've done something good.
Yeah, that what you just said, Ethan, reminded me of the quote from President Monson. Well, he quoted someone else. It goes, most human beings have an almost infinite capacity for taking things for granted. Yeah, when I heard that, it's like, just smacked me right in the face. It's like, dang it. Those type of things are, I'm grateful to hear those.
Yeah, very true. All really good comments. I do like one of the articles, it kind of gave you 3 different strategies that you can incorporate. I liked the reflect on 3 good things. That was huge. And I was thinking like how obviously you can implement this with any person, but like specifically that one person that you might not totally get along with, whether at work or in a class or whatever scenario it's in. Because it helps you think of them more of in a positive light than in a light that's negative. Did you all have any takeaways from any of the articles about how you can improve your overall gratitude?
I liked the 3 good things as well. But one of the thoughts that occurred to me was, you know, we're talking about being thankful to other people and being thankful in an organization and, you know, that kind of thing. But President Monson's talk was also really about, you know, gratitude to God. And I think that when we are looking for those things to be grateful for, that we have an opportunity to also thank Heavenly Father for more of our blessings if we're willing to really recognize more of them, I guess. Like it's that attitude of paying attention to the good things and the blessings that we have, and it's easy to take those for granted too.
It's also harder to be grateful for the. I mean, it's harder to be grateful for the hard times, maybe during the times, but when you look in the past, then you're like, oh wow, I'm pretty grateful for that happening to me. That like really changed my life. And I actually want to read another something from one of the readings. It says grateful individuals report higher levels of life satisfaction and optimism and greater energy and connections with other people. And I know that's for sure. People that are definitely more grateful are just happier, and they just have this glow about them. Especially those ones that are grateful for the hard times. They usually are just ecstatic about like everything, and I'm like jealous a lot of the times when they're like that.
You know, one of the things that stood out in the reading to me was the want what you have. That was one of those things to me that was a little eye-opening, you know, because to kind of paraphrase, it talks more about being grateful for what you have in life and not wanting the next big thing. You know, I got to have the newer car, the bigger house, the boat to go with the new truck, and, you know, but want what you have and don't get caught up in that. Will help you be, you know, have a better attitude of gratitude. I think it was President Hinckley that said that, right? Attitude of gratitude. And you know, the want what you have, and he gives the article, I think, gives 4 steps. You know, identify non-grateful thoughts, you know, and then eliminate them. Formulate grateful, supportive thoughts. Just substitute the grateful, supportive thoughts for the non-grateful thoughts, and then translate your inner feelings of appreciation into outward action. Just 4 great steps in that one article. And you know, gratitude can be tough and can be a little awkward, but you know, there's lots of blessings in our lives for it if we can just be grateful. Spencer, I can see you talking, but I think you're muted because I can't hear anything.
Sorry, I'm back. Okay, so I did like that other part in the article where it want what you want, because there's been times where I've seen coworkers, or there's even times myself, where people will get special projects or special things, and then you think, well, why didn't I get that? Am I not qualified? Things along those lines. And so it was a good reminder, like, hey, this is entrusted to you at this time, so just enjoy what you have, and you can make the best of it, which I think is a huge part of like personal gratitude for all the things that you have. Story that President Monson said about Henry, who lived in Canada, and how he had his dad made him count all the blessings that he had, giving sort of event. That's one thing that reminded me of between the 2 articles. So what role do you think gratitude plays in organizations if we were going to take this more into like a corporate setting? Have there been experiences where you've seen it benefit and help performance? Has there even been any negative effects that you've seen?
Well, kind of going along with that whole like the Google thing that we read a couple weeks ago on like what makes an effective team. I feel like gratitude, like it's hard to not like someone who's grateful to you for something, you know, like I've never one time in my life has someone been like, hey, I really appreciate you doing this. And I've been like, yeah, I hate you. Like that comment really just made me like really got under my skin, you know, like I don't even know if like sincere gratitude is even possible of eliciting that emotion. But yeah, gratitude in the workplace. I think I shared this on my on my reading discussion post, but I actually just read from the last general conference in April, a talk by Elder Mark A. Bragg, and it's called Brighter and Brighter Until the Perfect Day. And he actually mentions when he was like in the corporate world, this guy came and spoke to his company and said like, there's 3 things I've learned that like every company needs to have if it's going to be successful. And he said it's supported by a wealth of studies. He also focused on 3 components of a successful workplace culture: compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude. It makes perfect sense that as people turn towards the positive, the attributes perfectly exemplified by the light of the world, Jesus Christ, are present. So I thought that was like a perfectly timed reading, just because he was saying in there, like, gratitude is such a powerful component of having an effective workplace that like even secular organizations are starting to realize it. Like, it makes sense if this is a principle taught at BYU Idaho, because gratitude is very central to like a Mormon culture. But like in companies that are completely secular, like they're like, oh wow, gratitude is really powerful. We should start incorporating this. And that's how strong it is that people with no religious background are like, we should look into this.
So I thought,
sorry, go ahead, Bethany.
Oh, I thought it was interesting. Like, if you saw the announcement that the professor, sorry, I don't know how to say his name, but that he posted this week, and he talked about, you know, well, if you were in Texas or Florida, that, you know, how you'd be great, how you would really be grateful for just some of the basic necessities, right? And I am in Florida. So, you know, having the hurricane come through and, you know, be without power and be without internet and stuff like that. So my house is fine. And I was grateful for that. But even just being out without internet and without power for 3 or 4 or 5 days makes you really grateful for some of the really basic things we take for granted. Back to the things we take for granted, right?
You know, we had in our ward, kid graduated high school just this last summer, and he'd been working some construction, doing some granite countertop work, and he got pinned between a cart and a 800-pound slab of granite, and it broke his back in like 18 different places. I mean, the kid's 18 years old and had to go through a bunch of surgeries, and he got up and bore his testimony the first for Fast and Sunday this month. And now this is a kid that I have not, he's not really been active ever at any point. And he got up and he bore his testimony, and you can see the gratitude for, because he can walk. I mean, it's a miracle. I mean, he can walk, he can, he's doing physical therapy, doing all that stuff, and to see his life change and to be grateful for the gospel. I mean, he credits the blessing he was given at the time for, you know, surviving, because the granite slab broke when it fell on him. If it hadn't, it would have crushed him. You know, I mean, it just a million different things. And as he bore his testimony, I mean, he walked up to the front. It's been 6 weeks since it happened, or 8 weeks or something like that. Less than 2 months, if I remember right. But anyway, he walked up to the front, bore his testimony. He was just so grateful to be able to walk, you know, and it just changed his whole outlook on life. You know, he wasn't planning on going on a mission, and now he is. You know, he was planning on snowboarding the rest of his life, and now he realizes that there's more important things. And, you know, that gratitude, it can change. You can be kind of ungrateful cur, as I tell my kids sometimes, and then a little something can happen, and it can all change in a blink of an eye. So, yeah, very important skill, or, you know, thing to use in our lives.
Thanks for those comments. Definitely. Are there any like major takeaways that you guys had from any of these specific articles? I had a lot come from President Monson's talk, which I seem to always do. But is there any like main messages that you're walking away with that you learned from one of these?
Everyone wants to be appreciated and valued, and so when you're thanking them or like letting them know that what they're doing is great, like they'll want to do more, they'll go the extra mile. And I read somewhere in here that if you're grateful for your employees, they'll work longer, they'll put in an even greater effort than before, and so showing gratitude can go a long way.
Thank you for that. Very true. I think that the more that people feel that they're appreciated, the more willing they are to be a part of a team. You see, I feel like growing up, there was always that one person, like in youth, like in young men's or young women's, that just never really felt they were a part of the team. And I think a lot of it was because they didn't feel like they were really appreciated or really weren't there for anything, like their parents just made them come. And so I'm curious to see in the second book that we're reading, how if they address gratitude, if that's something that they talk about, and if so, how that will benefit ways that you all have received from the articles. No? Well,
I'll just say thank you to all of you for being such great team members, group members. You're always on time and you all show up, and that is fabulous.
I second that.
yeah,
I'm going to piggyback off your gratitude.
yeah, I'm really thankful you guys are patient with me because of my little baby who causes problems times and times, and my internet, which is horrible. But as of next week, my wife isn't working Wednesday evening, so I should be fully there.
Well, Spencer, that's a cute baby. Enjoy them at that age because they get to be teenagers, and then you want to.
He is so cute.
Yeah.
He just gets mad because he wants to crawl so bad that he just can't. So that's where he's at. Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything. Any final words of advice, encouragement? If not, I think we can definitely wrap it up. I think we're good. Okay, so I will close this up, send out the link. Everything's gonna be good. And I look forward to hearing from you guys next week.
All right. Thanks so much.
Sounds good.
Hey,
Thanks, everybody.
see you guys on the discussion board.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.